Peace, love, liberty, radio.
And the walls come crashing down as the war at home reaches your town. You have no choice, it's safe and clean. We all submit to the war machine.
What's this? It's Friday. Yes, that's right. It is Friday. And, well, I'm doing something that I've not done in a while. I am doing an episode on Friday of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. This is episode 298, meaning that Monday, God willing, will be episode 299. And then on Wednesday, the Ask Me Anything episode will be episode 300, the launch of version 4.0. I'm ready. Are you? Are you prepared to launch version 4.0 of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio? So why am I able to do a episode today on Friday? I've been traveling the last several weeks. I'll be traveling the next upcoming, although next week I will not be traveling on Friday because next week is Easter weekend. I should be traveling because I'm on the platform committee for the Libertarian Party, and they're having a face-to-face meeting in St. Louis. But alas, I do not believe I will be able to make it unless something happens and somehow I stumble upon about $500. I am not asking, per se, for $500 to get me to St. Louis. I'm just saying that that's the only way I would be able to attend. But there are much better things that I could be doing with myself over that weekend, like laundry, that I have not done in a long time. And why am I talking about laundry? Well, because that's the way my brain works, to where I just sit down and I start talking, and I've got plans on things that I want to talk about, and then, like stream of consciousness happens, and, I'm talking about doing laundry. But this weekend, I am not flying. I will be traveling. Almost immediately after I get this episode uploaded, I will be hitting the road, driving down to Philadelphia for the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania State Convention. It will actually not be the first time I've ever been to a Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania State Convention because I used to live in Pennsylvania. I attended the 2004 State Convention in Pennsylvania. That convention was held in Harrisburg. And I got to meet Gary Nolan, who at the time was seeking the Libertarian Party's presidential nomination. And it's sort of, like a serendipitous full circle sort of thing, right? So now, 12 years later, I am going to the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania State Convention myself as a presidential candidate. So it's one of those sort of full circle sort of things. And I'm looking forward to it. It should be a good time. There's going to be a presidential debate happening tomorrow evening, and I've heard that it's going to be a bit of a doozy. Not doozy as in, knockdown, drag-out fight, but that there's going to be some interesting questions being asked by some of the moderators. There will be multiple moderators, and I've been given a heads up on one or two of the questions. And it's going to really be interesting to see the different approaches that candidates take on the questions that wind up being asked. But I'm not here to simply talk about the presidential election or the conventions that are happening. There are other things that I want to talk about. And one of which is I'm very happy that, and I don't know if that's the correct term. Happy is probably the right term here. Very happy to see a lot of posts going around on Facebook. And maybe it's just because of the people that I connect with online, to where they wind up just throwing the term taxation as theft on pretty much any sort of meme or picture, and I find it to be absolutely hilarious. And I think it's good that people are putting that idea out there of, hey, just a reminder, taxes are theft. Well, not everybody agrees. And when I say not everybody, I'm not talking about, the population at large. I'm saying amongst libertarians, there are some people that will say that taxation is not theft. I recall having a conversation at the Massachusetts Libertarian Party State Convention where there was a gentleman telling me that taxes aren't theft because they're, quote-unquote, the price you pay for living in society. And he was being serious. But there's an article written over at the website morelibertynow.com, and the title of the article is Taxation is Not Theft for the 99%. And let me, instead of telling you, the conversation that I had in Massachusetts, let me jump into this article, and then I'll intersperse and jump in and cut off as I normally do. So the article begins, taxation is theft. This concept is central to anarcho-capitalist thinking, and it's wrong. And I would correct him to say it's central to libertarian thinking. And the reason it's central to libertarian thinking is because, libertarians should believe, and I am using the term should, although I should just say libertarians believe, because if you don't believe this, then you're really not a libertarian. Libertarians believe that no one has any more right than any other person, meaning that since you have no legitimate claim to the fruits of my labor, I don't have a legitimate claim to the fruits of your labor. I can't then get together with a group of buddies and all of a sudden decide that, why, yes, I do have a legitimate claim to the fruits of your labor. No, that's not how it works. If I don't have a right to anything that you own or earn, then nobody else has a legitimate right to what you own or earn other than you. It doesn't matter how many people get together, there's still no legitimate right to take your stuff. Central to libertarianism. But alas, the author here says it's wrong. He says it's not that aggression is okay. It's not that taxation is reasonable. It's not that taxes are the fair price for government services. It's none of the reasons that come to mind in the first 10 milliseconds. Taxation is not theft because tens, perhaps hundreds of millions of people in the United States alone are not just totally fine with paying taxes, but they'll also passionately defend the practice of taxation against dangerous radicals such as myself. Okay, so to say that it's not theft because people are okay with it is not an argument that it's not theft. It's an argument that they don't mind being stolen from. If every morning they were punched in the face and you told them, hey, being punched in the face should not happen every morning. And they say, no, but I enjoy being punched in the face because being punched in the face is the price that I pay for living in society. Then does that make being punched in the face right? No. No, it does not. Just because people like it doesn't mean that it's okay. It doesn't mean that it's not theft. It doesn't mean that it's not aggression. He then continues by asking the question, is taxation theft for me? Yes. Is taxation theft for you? You tell me. Is taxation theft for my next-door neighbor? Not in the least. Why? Because he's happy to pay. And there's more when we come back on Peace, Love, and Liberty Radio, episode 298.
In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. In 1999, Darryl W. Perry began a search for traditional values, which led him down a path to the ideas of liberty. He tells the story in A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty. Of the book, Dr. Brian Sovereign says, sometimes it's funny and sometimes I think it's crazy, but it's always authentic. Find A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty by Darryl W. Perry on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, ask for A Rebel's Journey wherever books are sold, or visit arebelsjourney.com. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Taxation is theft, and Liberty.me is a fabulous website. Those are statements that are most certainly true. Liberty.me, what is it? Well, it's kind of a social network, but it is so much more. Of course, there's the social networking aspect where you can post cat memes, you can post links to articles, you can post status updates, you can join groups, but Liberty.me has so much more than Facebook. Liberty.me allows you to connect a WordPress blog to your profile. They allow you to join chat rooms. Not just create a group chat with your friends. No. They actually have chat rooms. There's also audio content, there are ebooks, and there is so much more at Liberty.me. But one thing that there is not at Liberty.me is internet trolls. The reason there are no internet trolls at Liberty.me is because it is a paid service, and, well, internet trolls don't want to have to pay to be an internet troll. Go to Liberty.me, use referral code FPP Radio, save 10% on that membership. Liberty.me, code FPP Radio. And add me as a friend once you join. Now back into the article here where the author George Donnelly is arguing that taxation is not theft because people are just happy to pay it. Doesn't mean that it's not theft. It just means that people are delusional and they've got a touch of Stockholm Syndrome. Let me back up here to where he asks the question, is taxation theft for me? Yes. Is it theft for you? You tell me, and I say yes. He says, is it theft for my next-door neighbor? Not in the least, because he's happy to pay. Oh, I give him a dozen fine arguments why he shouldn't be happy, but he still claims he is. Further, I'm bonkers for disagreeing with him. Liberty is about the individual, he writes. I don't get to dictate to another person what they should and should not do, because that's collectivism. That's a failure to respect their right to self-determination, their liberty. Now, let me just stop here to say that, yes, true, you do not get to dictate to another person what they should or should not do, as long as what they are doing or not doing is not causing unjust harm to another person. Now, if your next-door neighbor comes up to you and tries to take your stuff, that is most certainly theft, and I think you would even agree that that is theft. However, if your next-door neighbor has a shiny little badge, and his badge says tax collector, and he comes to take your stuff, well, let me tell you, it's still theft. Just because you're happy to pay doesn't mean that it's not theft. It is still theft. And it is still wrong, and you most certainly should tell your neighbor that they should or should not steal from you. And in this case, it would be a should not steal from you. Let me continue with the article. He says, therefore, taxation is not theft, not for everyone, because some are happy about it. A lot, in fact. The attempt to dictate to them that it really is theft when they believe it is not is a form of collectivism and antithetical to liberty. And I say that your claim that simply because some people are happy paying taxes, that therefore taxes aren't a form of aggression or theft, is utter nonsense. He continues, step one of libertarianism is to respect the individual and her right to make her own choices. Agreed. Libertarianism is not about identifying your own personal truth and forcing that dogma on others. Now, to say that aggression is wrong is not a personal truth. It is a known fact. It is one of the things that I know to be true about life. Aggression is wrong. Stealing is wrong. It does not become right just because a bunch of people sit around and say, I'm glad somebody's stealing money from me, or I gladly pay for all of these horrible services that are delivered at subpar levels because without me paying for these subpar levels of service, who would fill in the blank? So, no, it is theft. Just because you're justifying it's not theft because people are happy about it doesn't make it not theft. He then continues, that makes the concept taxation as theft an intellectual fail. And I don't agree with his assessment here. Let me continue on. He says, on a strategic level, taxation as theft is an example of an obsolete marketing pitch. It only resonates with the few hardcore ANCAP faithfuls, ANCAP being short for anarcho-capitalist, and I would say that, no, it resonates with libertarians, but I digress. He says those for whom the utility of hearing it is lowest, and most of the people paying taxes day in and day out despite their intellectual fidelity to the cause. The insistence on promoting taxation is theft shows an egotistical tone deafness, a catastrophic failure to listen, and an abysmal lack of creative thinking on the part of libertarians. Now, I will say that I partially agree here that it's not the best marketing pitch because most people aren't going to sit down to hear the full explanation of how taxation is theft. But that's really the point of a marketing pitch, is to throw something out there and then have people sit down to listen to the further thing, or just repeat it without having any clue what the hell it means. For example, taste the rainbow. What in the blue hell does that mean? I don't know, but it's the Skittles logo, and people remember it, and when they hear taste the rainbow, they think, aha, Skittles. When people hear just do it, Nike, exactly. You don't know what just do it means. Just do what? Do what? Who knows? But just do it. Nike. Go buy the Nike shoes. Just do it. Go play basketball. You might wind up tearing an ACL, but if you're wearing Nikes, just do it. Run for the border. Run for the border. Taco Bell. It's an empty marketing pitch, but people connect the dots. They hear the slogan, automatically they think of the product. What was the one? Coca-Cola had one a while back. I forget what it is now. Dr. Pepper had the I'm a pepper, be a pepper sort of thing. Mellow Yellow had one back in the day. But all of these, you hear the slogan, and automatically you think of the brand. And I hope at some point that saying taxation is theft, automatically people think libertarians. Automatically, when they hear the words taxation is theft, they think libertarian. Because it's a brilliant slogan, an absolute brilliant slogan. We need to do a better job of getting people, after they hear the slogan, to hear the rest of the message and then connect it to the group, libertarian. So when they hear taxation is theft, aha, libertarian. He continues here, quote, taxation is theft, end quote, is like running George McGovern or Barry Goldwater for president. It's like opening a new broadcast TV station or building a steel mill on the south side of Chicago in the 21st century. It's like going door to door selling typewriters, film cameras, or rotary phones to people who own MacBooks and iPhones. These are all stupid ideas born of failure to listen to the marketplace. The marketplace of ideas is telling you that taxation is theft is not working. It's not convincing anyone. Its success rate at inspiring tax resistance or less oppressive tax laws is so low you could not measure it if you tried. And there's more when we come back on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Why do they hate us? Is libertarianism compatible with Islam? Davi Barker answers these questions and more in Voluntary Islam and Other Essays. He advances the voluntarist cause with analysis of the confluence of values between Islam and libertarianism, as well as contemporary movements from the Tea Party to the Arab Spring. Voluntary Islam by Davi Barker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
It is the year 91,001 BCE. Witness humanity's origins in Hyperchronius, a classic role-playing game for Windows PCs with a story like no other game before. A liberty-oriented experience that is not to be missed. Go to zog.ninja to get your copy of Hyperchronius today. Use the code FPP to get $1 off. Hyperchronius, zog.ninja, code FPP.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
If anarcho-capitalist, he writes, market anarchists, and other libertarians with new ideas for Government 2.0 are to meet with any success, we need to evolve our pitch over time. We need to invent new concepts, present them to the public, listen and adjust the pitch to discarding non-working ideas or evolving them until they work. And on some level, I agree here. On some level. But where I don't agree is with the logical conclusion that should be made here from what he's saying, that we need to evolve our pitch, meaning we need to soften it up. We need to water down the message. We cannot say that taxation is theft and rape is wrong. We can't say that because people aren't ready for that. People aren't ready to hear that it's not okay to steal money from people. People aren't ready to hear that. People are okay with saying that, well, maybe a fewer people should go to jail. People are okay with that, but people aren't okay with saying no one should go to jail unless they have actually harmed someone. And there are some people that, like myself, would say that even if you do harm someone, you should have to make restitution to that person, and being incarcerated and essentially forcing the person whom you have harmed to then pay for your sustenance, to pay for feeding and clothing and housing you, that is wrong and immoral. That if you steal from someone, instead of being thrown in a jail cell for a period of time, you should make that person whole and then compensate them for the amount of time that they were without whatever product it was that you stole. Whether it be a loaf of bread, a television, or everything in their bank account, you should make it right and then go above and beyond. Because instead of just, oh, okay, here's your television set back, sorry I took it, I'll learn next time. And then you just keep stealing televisions and returning them to people a couple days later. Oh, I'm sorry. I learned my lesson, I swear. And then you steal the television again. Oh, I'm sorry. I swear. No. There has to be some sort of punishment, but that punishment should not be a quote-unquote debt to society. That punishment should be to the person that was harmed. So you steal my television. All right, I was without a television for X number of days. My quote-unquote pain and suffering for being without a television is X. You return the television and then provide X. And you fill in for X whatever you think is right. $20 a day, $100 a day, who knows? But forcing me to then house you and feed you and clothe you for a period of, a week, a month, a year, that is absolutely wrong and immoral to force me to wind up paying for the livelihood of the person that wronged me. The article here continues. He says libertarians are facing 50 years of irrelevance because we are lost in the inner worlds of Lysander Spooner and Murray Rothbard. We'd rather be right in our own minds than relevant to the minds of the world. We'd rather drink craft beer and ridicule the stupid statists as they burn than lift a finger to build a freer world. And I don't agree here. Now, yes, I would rather be right than wind up being able to somehow make a difference without being true to what I believe. But there are ways that you can make a difference while remaining true to what you believe. And the way you do that is when you advocate for liberty, you advocate for consistent liberty, and then you let the people that are advocating for minimal liberty or no liberty, you let them come to you when it's time to negotiate. You don't start walking their way and saying, yeah, we should tax and regulate all the things. And then they say, but most of the things are already taxed, and what's not taxed is heavily regulated and prohibited, so therefore, no. And you're like, but regulate the things that are prohibited. And they say no. Now, with me, I'm saying free all the things, and they're saying, no, we should tax and regulate the things. And I'm like, but free them. And they say, but tax and regulate, and instead of prohibit, tax and regulate, free them. But tax and regulate, that's a step in the right direction because it's no longer prohibited, but free them. And sooner or later, you wind up getting a little bit of what you want. You start taking steps, or you start getting them to take steps towards you. So you can remain right while also being relevant. Now, what he's talking about here are the people that will just completely say, like, I'm ignoring them, and they'll go away if I don't do anything, la, 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 la. And they just sit over and do whatever they want, not paying any attention to what the laws are, and then they wind up getting thrown in jail. No, that's not where I'm coming from. And I'm going to pay attention to what the laws are so that I can know whether or not, in most cases, I'm intentionally violating or not. Because I would much rather know if I'm about to break a law than not know that I'm about to break a law, if that makes any sense. He then says something about drinking craft beer, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with, and is a complete non sequitur to ridiculing, quote-unquote, stupid statists as they burn. Now, I do a lot of things to build a freer world, and I also enjoy craft beer, and this sentence just absolutely makes no sense. He continues, we talk a good game about markets and laugh at failed products without realizing that our own ideology is a failed product that the markets have rejected. And I disagree. I would say that some of the ideas, certainly, the market has rejected. That doesn't mean that the idea is wrong. It just means, to steal a phrase from Back to the Future, you're not ready for this, but your kids are going to love it. He then concludes, worst of all, we've given up. No, we haven't. I've not given up. I most certainly have no plans on giving up George Donnelly. Maybe you have given up. Maybe you have decided that liberty will never happen, and you've just given up, and so you're going to sit around and ridicule libertarians that are actually trying to do something while saying, yeah, the market's spoken, man. They don't like what you're saying. Yeah, that's fine. What's the saying? Lead, follow, or get out of the way. If you're not trying to lead and you're not trying to follow, just get the hell out of the way and stop trying to stop the people that are trying to lead or follow. Again, he says, worst of all, we've given up. It's plain as day when you hear libertarians talk about how we'll never have liberty in our lifetime. I don't say that. I am, suspiciously optimistic, or maybe suspiciously optimistic is not the term here. I would love to see liberty in my lifetime. I don't know if I will ever see true liberty in my lifetime. I don't know if I will ever see 100% liberty in my lifetime, but I will certainly see more liberty in my lifetime. He says it's plain as day when you hear libertarians talk about how we'll never have liberty in our lifetime. It's as obvious as the sky when you see people pushing the same talking points that offer the same non-traction, such as taxation is theft. If you want to change that, leave your ego at the door and let's talk about how to move forward in the comments. And no, I have no interest in participating in your comments. I will just debunk what you say on this podcast, because taxation most certainly is theft. Just because some people are happy about it doesn't make it not theft. This is Peace Love.